What's up, everyone? This is Xavier, your host, and welcome to the 210 Stockyard.
I was waiting to put out a video of the firing of the Vegas Vipers coach Rod Woodson, mainly because I thought they'd make an announcement before the draft. But here we are on the eve of the 2023 XFL rookie draft and still no announcement. My main question, other than who will replace him, is what's the draft strategy? Most organizations will utilize the owner and GM for the decision making, but they will take the coach's input based on what the offense and defensive needs are, what the team goals are, or what the team strategy is. So without a head coach's input, are they just going to draft based on needs, or are they just going to pick the best available player at the time, regardless of his position? Keep in mind that Vegas does have the number 2 pick in the draft, so it's kind of a big deal. Now I know some Vegas fans were upset and wondering, why would you let the coach go only after one season? Why not at least give him one more year to prove himself? As you know that last year was his first time as a head coach. So let's go ahead and talk about them. I decided to break them down. Let's talk football. Now first, at the beginning of the season, he fired his offensive coordinator, Dwayne Taylor, after only 3 games. A little impatient in my opinion. You do have to let the team develop chemistry, especially a team with all the players who were playing together for the first time. Keep in mind that all teams had to start from scratch and only had 5 weeks of training camp together. It was a hasty decision that didn't yield better results. Second, and he didn't know this at the time, but he traded away the XFL Championship MVP, Luis Perez. And he didn't just trade him away. He traded him away for a guy who hadn't even played yet, Ryan Mueller. And just to add insult to injury, Vegas let him go, and exactly 1 week later, he signed back with Arlington. So Vegas got nothing out of the deal other than getting rid of Luis Perez, which came back to kind of bite them in the ass. Now, at the time that Perez was traded away, he was 5th in the XFL in passing with 901 yards and 4th in touchdowns with 8. And once again, the decision didn't yield better results because they only went on to win 1 more game. Third, he had the highest paid player in Brett Hundley and could never figure out how to utilize him. I want to say his contract was about $400,000 for the season, and Hundley never even had much playing time. So a waste of resources there, once again in my opinion. Now finally, on paper, Vegas was poised to be a powerhouse. With the amount of experienced NFL talent that they were able to amass, they should have been better. But once again, they just couldn't figure out how to utilize their talent. They ended the season 2-8 and only managed to beat the other 2 teams in the bottom of the rankings, Orlando and San Antonio. So yes, after looking at all of that, I can see why they let him go. Now the question is, who will step in? Who's going to be the next head coach? XFLnewsroom.com put out an interesting article and named some potential candidates. Now I'm not going to name them all, but I am going to reference the ones that stood out to me, starting with June Jones. He's the current offensive coordinator for the Seattle Sea Dragons and was Houston's head coach in the 2020 iteration of the XFL. This is a good candidate, provided that Seattle would be willing to let him go. Next up is Jonathan Hayes. He's the co-offensive coordinator for the Arlington Renegades, and he was also the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks also in 2020. Now next up, and I'm just going to say this is going to be a straight up no, I don't see this happening, or I will be very surprised if this does happen, but the article mentioned Bruce Gradkowski, the offensive coordinator for St. Louis. I just don't think St. Louis is going to part ways with this guy, especially with how well he did with their offense. This would genuinely be a shock to me if he is selected, because he virtually has no coaching experience, let alone head coaching experience. Now the article goes on to mention spring football legend, if you will, in Pep Hamilton. He was the head coach for DC back in the 2020 iteration of the XFL. After that, he went on to be the Chargers quarterback coach and is currently Houston's offensive coordinator. And I just don't see this happening either. Granted, he is a great mention, but being that he's Houston's current offensive coordinator and with the draft that Houston just had, I don't think he's going to be willing to leave that team. And I don't think the XFL will be able to afford him, honestly. My personal pick would be their current wide receiver coach, Ray Sherman. Out of all the coaches on the team, he is the most experienced, and I think it would benefit the team to have somebody step up that was already in the system, already with the guys. I do think that Vegas has one of the biggest disadvantages heading into the 2024 season because of the coaching situation. It's a good thing that they don't have to start from scratch again by building an entire team, but they do have to completely overhaul their strategies, their schemes, their playbook. And by simply promoting someone from within, I think we'll have a better result. And again, I would have put this out sooner, but I honestly anticipated an announcement before the draft. It's taking place tomorrow, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But what are your thoughts? Was Vegas justified in firing Woodson? Will it have a negative effect on how they draft? Who do you think will be or should be the next coach? And who do you think they should draft? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe as always if you're enjoying the content and want to see more. Stay tuned because I will definitely be covering the results of the rookie draft. I know there will be lots to talk about. And for all my Brahma fans, I will be making hype videos for all the players that we select. Looking forward to seeing all of you in the next video. And as always, horns forward.